Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Spontaneous Stories. Another Thursday, another live going on. I'd like to welcome everyone. My name is Riccardo Ginevri. I am a storytelling coach, and today I'm going to talk, and hopefully not just me talking, but I will interact with you about where we can find stories. So the title for today and the question for today is where we can find the stories. I shared in the past live why stories are important, why stories move the world. I shared what is the let's say the basic ingredient, what are the basic ingredients of the stories. So today I'm going to hopefully, from my point of view, I'm going to answer the question. Of course, the question can be answered in several ways, but I would like to have my own answer to the question. Okay, Riccardo, where we can find stories? Because should we, every time that we are delivering a communication, invent a new story? How we can be ready when we are in everyday communication to come out with a story? Because this is one of the questions that I get most of the time when I'm coaching people about how to use the storytelling skills to improve communication. And the question is the following: is okay, we need to, if I have to prepare a presentation, a keynote, I have time to work on the story, I have time to find the story, I have time to Google or now ChatGPT the story, find the story, and we will see this in a second because you have a time. But what is going to happen if I am in everyday communication? That is exactly one part of my coaching, helping people, especially people that are in business environmental, like techie people or project managers. I'm a project manager, I have a background of 20 years of project management. So how we found stories on the moment. We are in a session, in a status reporting session. We are in a conversation with a client. How we can find stories, how we can get our way to communicate supported by the compelling and memorable stories or ingredients that then make it our communication better. And so here is the answer, at least my answer. First of all, sorry if from time to time I look in a different place. Today I have a problem with my second camera. So actually with my first camera, so I'm using the second one, and from time to time I forgot that I'm using the second one, not the first one, so I'm looking to the different place. Say this, having said this from, let's say, technical point of view, let's dig into the question and try to answer, of course. Okay, just making sure that I can collect any comment from the from the comment bar, and if anyone is online, will be nice if you want to drop your questions, if you want to share your thinking. Okay, so to understand where you can find stories ready for you, or you can prepare for a presentation, let's talk about kind of stories that we can access, we can use, or we can access in all situations. Again, my main focus is is a technical. Okay, I see some comments coming. Thank you. Some comments are technical. Sorry, some environment are technical. Some other environment are, let's say, less technical. So stories can be different. Okay. So the stories can be divided we can divide stories in two main, let's say, bucket, if you want it, two main part. And let me share my screen. Okay, and I would like to present this one. Maybe. Okay, presentation. This one, please. Here we go. Okay, now it's coming. Lovely. So my notepad is here, so I can sketch a little bit, and if you want to, you can take your notebook and you can sketch yourself and bring some notes at home. But of course, this is recorded, so if you want to rewatch it, you can go in YouTube, you can go in LinkedIn and rewatch it. But I always find very useful to write and capture information live, so you can remember easily what you are what you are getting from the learning experience. I mean, let's call it like a learning experience. Okay, so I see that two main bucket. So one area where you can find the stories is the area that I call it direct story. So this is the first, direct stories. Okay, and the other area, let me write here below so you can quickly focus, you can guess it, indirect story. You can find this definition, let's say, you can find different flavor of this definition, but in the end, barely you can divide the stories that you can find, you can source, you can create, you can use in your communication in these two big areas. So what are the direct stories? So the direct story, the word direct is connected to ourselves. So these are the stories that are direct to us, and easily to say, these are the stories that are our stories. So direct stories are all the stories that we have a direct experience with. That's the word direct. And what are the stories that we have a direct experience with? Of course, our stories, but also our stories maybe of some good friend that you know very well, and you know that he or she experience the specific situation, the specific event that is related to the story. Or a direct story could be also a story related to working environment, maybe the company where you are working. Something happened in the company. It was maybe not direct involving you, but you know that was happening, so you have a direct experience of what is going to happen. Maybe you are in a big project and something happened in the project, and you collect from the voice and experience of someone that was in the project, that event happened. So this is a story that is direct to you, because in some way you have a direct experience of the story. You have a direct experience of the people that told you the story. So you know the people that told you the story. You know the situation. Let's say that I would like to say that the direct stories most likely are the stories that you know that are true. You know that they are authentic, and they connect very much with you. So I would like to say that the word connecting in a direct story is a key thing, because these stories connect really with you. Okay, so these direct stories are, as I say, personal stories. Okay, so personal. They could be stories that friends, very good friends, let's say, friends stories, and story related to the company. So these are the direct stories. I will go back in a sec. I will go back on the direct stories. I would like just to talk a little bit about indirect stories. What are the indirect stories? Okay, indirect stories are stories that you don't have direct experience with. They are not connect. They are not. Let's say you have no experience with them, but they are still connecting with you. That's important things. So what are the indirect story? And a very good example of indirect story is a story that you read, for example, in a book, or you see the story in the news, and this story resonates very much with you. So there is always strong connection. There is always strong bonding with the story. But in this situation, the story is not really something that you have experienced directly. It's not something that someone you know have experienced directly. So in some way you cannot really say, I lived this story, I was witnessing this story. But the story resonate with you. Okay, so indirect stories can be, as I say, stories that come from your preferred movie. Okay, stories that come from your preferred book, okay, or books, or movies, stories that come from the news that resonate very much with you. So these are stories that you love this story, you can, and then in some way this story bound you. So the key things is that you are still connected. Okay, you are still connected with the indirect stories, but these stories are something that you have no direct experience. Any question? Let me see if there is any one connected want to ask any question. Sometimes I got the question related to the, especially the indirect stories. Can be this entire story something that is fictionary? That is, it's not true. I mean, it's fiction means that it never existed. It's not something that you see in the news, and then, well, the answer is, in general, is yes. You can tell stories that are fictional. You can tell a story from a book. You can tell story. I mean, I'm a big fan of science fiction, Star Wars, and fantasy. For example, Lord of the Rings. I mean, if I tell a story on how the Fellowship of the Ring went through the Middle Earth. I mean, of course, it doesn't exist. This is a fantasy. But I can bring some lesson, some detail of this story to support my my communication. And everyone knows that this is a fictional story, so it's invented the story. It's not a true story. I can use it. What you cannot use it is It's like inventing or modifying a story that most of the time is a direct story, or is a real story, or it's a story that you heard in the news, but you modifying the way that you are like creating something that is completely fictional. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example to be very clear. I see in the news that a very famous person attended an event in London, and there were a lot of people talking with this famous person and asking questions, and then I can say, oh, I have attended to this event and I never been there. And I talk with this famous person and I ask these things, and this famous person looked me in the eyes, and then after 3 seconds told me these things. Okay, you know what? Is adding something to my narrative, is adding something to my communication. Everyone is saying, oh, you met this person, and then this person told you these things, but it's not true. I would like to suggest to not use this let's say manipulation of the reality. I would like to suggest always to be authentic, to be true. I mean, you can adjust a story. For example, if you want to tell that you were going down to the street to buy something, suddenly some start raining, and you got completely wet, and something happened. I mean, just to give you an example. And in reality, well, maybe there was just a light rain and you don't really get completely wet. This is again a manipulation of the reality, but makes I mean, you are not telling that you met something famous, or you are not telling that you are like the CEO of an important company, or I mean, you did something that it's easy. It's sometimes also easy to test, but also, and then you get in the situation that it's very clear that you give a lie. Of course, today it's an incredible day here in UK. There is the sun shining. It's very cold outside, but after 2 or 3 weeks that is awful gray all the day, today finally the sun is shining in London. So if I tell a story about today that I got a big shower, going outside, doing let's say some shopping, well, maybe someone can say, you know what, Riccardo, last day was one of the first day that in London there was a shining sun. So yeah, well, I mean, you see what I mean? Just balance properly the adjustment of the true, to make sure that if you adjust the true, to make sure that your story is interesting, is having this. You remember the climax. You remember the tipping point where everyone wants to know what's going on to happen after, making sure that if you create a situation where there is a climax and there is a point that add the interest to this story, it's probably true. Okay, just don't manipulate stories too much. Okay, so this answers the question: can be the stories fictionally? Yes, can be fictionally. Can I manipulate a little bit the story to make them more interesting? Well, yes, but still stick to the general truth, and the most important things: be authentic. Be authentic is something that apply to both type of stories, direct stories and indirect stories. Okay, so we talk about where we can. The question for today is where we can find the stories. I think that you got the hints where you can find the story, because direct story. Let's talk where we can find the story. Direct stories. I wrote. You can find the stories in a personal experience. And I would like to suggest to write to start writing you taking notes of your story. You create what is called an anecdote book. Okay, I have my anecdote book. Actually, I have it somewhere behind the pile of this. Yeah, this is my anecdote book. Yeah, the red one. This is my anecdote book, and it's there are not so many anecdotes because I'm really not very good on this, but as much as I can, I write things inside my anecdote book. And how I write things into my anecdote book. I start populating my anecdote book thinking, let's talk about personal stories. What are the events that in my life that really make my life more meaningful, or they really are making myself as I am? Well, I have different events. When I was young, I was big fan of football. I came from Rome, so I am still a big supporter of Roma Football Club. But when I was young, I was really into this. At a certain point, if you're not a football fan, you don't know. But at a certain point in a championship, Rome finally have the final in Rome against the Liverpool, and we lost badly at the penalties. And it was so striking me. And I was a 16 years old boy looking his favorite team losing at the penalties, and I was so sick for weeks. And at 16 years old, then I decide that, you know what, you cannot be sick just because your football team you've lost at the penalties. So this changed completely the way I was looking to the sport. I was thinking of what is important in life. Because I was sick in the bed for 2 weeks because just we lost at the penalties. And I say, okay, I'm continuing. I will be a fan of this football club. I will be a fan of Ferrari. I will fan of many sports. But you know what? Nothing is so important that I can become sick because my favorite player did wrong, or my team lost. Okay, this is one of the story. I wrote it down, so I will remember. I can use it. I can use it to inspire. I can use it maybe to say, you know what, be a fan of a team is important, but never put all yourself in one things. Well, you can imagine the way that you can use the story, but the important thing is that find the story and write it down, and then you can write the story when you get married. You can find the story when you propose to your partner, or you can get the story when you finish the uni, or one of the stories when you were at work. You can find a lot of personal story. Just stop and think about that, then write it then down. Then you can now connect the story to different messages. Okay, we will see how the story connected to the messages, but the very important first step is collect the story. And personal stories are the most powerful stories. And if there are some stories that also tell about failure, well, these stories, we know that we are very, I told you the past live last week that our human behavior is very attracted to stories where, yeah, the success is important, but where this failure is, it's a part of the story. We love very much the stories where there is an happy ending, where the failure is it's the point of the climax. Everything is happening, everything is going wrong, but then things went back and to the good. Well, think about also these stories. Have no fear to tell personal stories that tell the moment that you had a failure, and use this story to bring to life a new life. I mean, stories of resilience, stories of success, they are all disseminated by failure. Great speech are always talking about failure. And this is bringing me to talk a little bit more about the indirect stories. So the indirect stories, I say that you can find indirect story in your preferred book, in your preferred movie, in the news, a story that someone told you. For example, you joined a company, and when I joined one of the company that I worked for most of my life, was, because I was not working anymore, Hewlett Packard. So in Hewlett Packard, when you join Hewlett Packard, at least at the time when I joined Hewlett Packard, that was like more than 50 years ago, you were getting a little booklet that was telling the story on how Hewlett Packard was founded, and how Hewlett Packard was basically the first company in the Silicon Valley. So basically the place where the Hewlett Packard was founded, that is a garage where Hewlett and Packard created their first electronic equipment that was an oscilloscope, so electronic equipment to measure and analyze electronic circuits, was built in a garage in the middle of a place on the hill of behind San Francisco. Well, this place is now considered the place where the Silicon Valley was born. And there were full stories about Mr. Hewlett and Mr. Packard at the beginning of how they founded the company. Well, this is an indirect story. I never experienced this story. I worked for Hewlett Packard, but it was an indirect story for me. But I got the story, and I can tell the story. And I can tell the story how is important, a story of legacy, stories of, resilience, story about how important is always looking forward and look for innovation. Well, there were a lot of big teams coming from this. But the point is that it's an indirect story. I never experienced this story. It's a story from my company. It's a good story to tell. That's an indirect story. But it's also an indirect story, the story of Fellowship of the Ring, the story of the rebel ship in the Star Wars. You can use part of these stories. The story how George Lucas created his first movies against all odds. At 1977, George Lucas really made a revolution in science fiction movies. You can tell amazing stories about this. These are all indirect stories. But I would like to give you one more tips on how to find stories that can help you. How to find a story that can help you in your communication. So the first tip was create an anecdote book. So you can collect stories that are direct or indirect, and write them in a notebook. Okay. But I would like to give you another tip, okay, that probably is connected to indirect stories, but in some ways connected to the direct story. So it's a sitting in the middle of the two. And this tip is a tip that I found in a book, and it's not Riccardo. It's not Riccardo. I don't want to take the ownership of this idea. It's an amazing idea from this book. I will talk about books maybe in another live. But this book, Connect, from Simon Lancaster, it's an amazing book. Simon it's a great speech writer. Absolutely great speech writer. But of course, then when you are also a great speech writer, you are also a good speaker. You have an amazing TED Talk. You can find a TED Talk from from Simon, and he wrote a lot of books. But this book, to me, it's amazing. And one of the idea I put in this book is the idea is this one is the dinner party. So what Simon suggests is the following, and this is the technique that he used with the people that he helped to write speeches, because he's a professional speech writer. So he write speeches for, like, I don't know, he wrote speeches actually for member of parliaments and a famous CEO and so on. So he suggested to use this approach, and you can use on yourself, of course, because you are finding stories for yourself, and I did for myself. The dinner party. Okay, imagine that you are organizing a dinner party, and you can invite 8 people at your dinner party, but these 80 people are very special people. Okay, so let me write the dinner party. Okay, who are these who are these special 8 people? Well, you can invite any person that you admire. It could be someone that is living right now. It could be your preferred singer. It could be your preferred politician. It could be someone that inspires you with his videos or his post on LinkedIn. It could be someone that lived in the past. Is not anymore. He died. Okay, it could be a famous author, book author. It could be a famous politician, a famous founder. I mean, I'm not nominating any name. I will give you my list maybe later, but the point is that you can choose whatever you want for one evening sitting around your table. You can choose even fictionary people. You can choose Gandalf sitting at your dinner party. You can choose Yoda. It's okay. The important thing is that the people that you choose resonate with you. You in some way should admire them. You in some way should know something, if not everything, about them. It's happening. I mean, if you stop thinking about that, right? Stop thinking. Stop thinking in the way that you sit down and think about which are the 8 people that really resonate with you. And when I did this exercise, I wrote people like Mark Aurelio, a very famous emperor that wrote. It was a really inspirating a lot of with his philosophy. Was called the emperor philosopher. And then I wrote Jesus. Well, it could be. It seems like not because Jesus really. I mean, I'm a Catholic, and seems like easy for me, a Catholic, thinking about Jesus. But I'm not thinking about Jesus because I am a Catholic and I'm connected with the religion. I'm thinking about Jesus because if Jesus existed, and I don't want to talk about the holy religion side, I would like to think about the human side of Jesus. This person that at that time, where there was the slavery, where there were, where the life was completely different of the life that we have today, was predicating that we are all brothers and sisters, was predicating the no reaction. I mean, it's the message is so powerful. So I wrote Jesus, I wrote Marco Aurelius, I wrote Jesus, I wrote Gandalf. Yes, I know Gandalf. I read almost all the books from Tolkien. And I love very much how Tolkien shaped Gandalf. I love Yoda. I love Yoda. I love the not only because Yoda have tons of very nice quotes, and I like it very much. I read the book from Andrea Agassi, and I love the book and I love the person. And I've been not a very big fan of tennis, but when I read his book, I love it. I love it what he was writing in the book. I say I would like to have Andrea Agassi at my table, and I created my list of 8 people, and when I stopped creating the list of my 8 people, I start thinking how each, and ideally these 8 people should be different. So I refined the list a couple of times. It was not like the first list that I created. I refined the list a couple of times, but though I didn't refine the list because I would like to have people that bring something into my party list, because I was really thinking how much I know, how much I can speak about these people, how much I know the quotes, how much I know the life, any bits. Well, when I write this list of people, I write a couple of quotes for them. I write a couple of interesting facts from their life. And then I put the list down in my notebook, okay? And I put the list down in my notebook. And so the 8, okay, people of the dinner party, the AP, okay? I write the 8 people on the dinner party, and I write some quotes from them. And the important things here is for the tips is the following. You write the list, you refine the list a couple of times, always find some people that resonate with you. Because if they resonate with you, you are passionate to tell stories about them, to tell maybe you remember easily the quote from them. And then you are easier for you to bring the stories in your communication. That's the trick. And also the other things that I would like to tell you about these 8 people. From 1 month to now, 2 months to now, every 6 months, review your list. Because it's possible that the people that are in your list are changing. Sometimes you adjust the list. Now my list is this one, but you know what? In 6 months, I read this book. In 6 months, I met this person. In 6 months, someone showed me this TED talk, and I know this new person that really well give me open my mind doors, and really now today I have much more into his ideas, into his inspiration. So you can change the list. It's not carved into the stone. It's a great exercise. It's a great exercise because the list with your personal anecdotes are definitely a source of ideas for your stories that are already sitting in your brain. You're already sitting in your memories. You're already sitting in your experience. It's something that you admire. So if you bring one of the quotes of the person that are in your list, in your communication, well, they will come out strongly. They will come out memorable. Everyone will feel the authenticity that you are really talking about someone that you know. These are your dinner party. Think about speaking with the people around your table at the dinner party. Think about what you can share, what they can share with you. That's where you can find stories. And I told you that dinner party is in the middle between direct story and indirect story. And of course, they are all indirect stories. Fictionary people, people that maybe you don't met directly. I mean, you can tell what's a story of someone that you admire. Maybe you really have met him and speak with him directly. I mean, someone, it's possible. But I would like to say that they are direct story because they resonate with you. In some way they connect very much with you. That's why I would like to say they are sitting in the middle. Of course, the dinner party is definitely in indirect stories, a group of indirect stories, quotes for someone that you don't met, something like that. So you don't have their experience, but they have a strong bonding with you. That's why dinner party is very sitting in the middle. And maybe there is someone. Maybe it's your coach. When you were young, you were doing any sportive activity and your coach inspired you very much. It's your teacher from when you were young. It's one of your manager. I don't want to use the word boss. It's one of your leaders that really inspired you. Well, it's a person that you have a direct experience. So in your 8th dinner party, there is someone that you have a direct experience. Yeah. That's why it's sitting in the middle. So I was talking for 40 minutes, and oh wow, I got another nice message. The message is not really helping me. Thank you, Marina. For today, I'm going to close this live here. And let me share, let me close. I really hope that was useful for you. And I really hope that you start writing your anecdote book, or, not the book, or your stories book, whatever you want to call it. You start writing them digitally or physically in a book. All the stories that later on you can reuse it. You can reuse it with the passion. You can reuse it with because they resonate with you. I'm going to close today live. This is a live, but the recording will stay in LinkedIn and will stay now also in YouTube, so it's much easier to find it. You can find the link in my YouTube channel. You can find the link also in LinkedIn. Maybe I will drop the message later on to find so you can find the recording. If you have any question, drop me a direct message. I will be very happy to answer to your questions. And well, yeah, see you next week. And next week I would like to also to share why I'm using a very nice video with a beach that introduce my live and close my live. So yeah, so you're wondering, okay, Riccardo, why you're using this video? Well, I will share next week. So let's connect next Thursday for the next live. Thank you very much to watch today's spontaneous stories live, and yeah, bye for now.